Hey everyone, it's Alex and welcome back to my channel. So it's been a couple of months since I've made my last haunted place video, but it's actually been a couple of years since I've actually been to a real haunted location. So over winter I decided to try to find a local haunted place, and this is how I found about the Slippery Noodle Inn. And when I visited this inn, it was on December 16th, 2017. So the Slippery Noodle Inn is located in Indianapolis, Indiana on 372 South Meridian Street. It was established in 1850, which makes this bar Indiana's oldest bar. Since this bar is 168 years old, it has a very interesting history. So interesting that they put their history right on the menus. So we'll first talk about the various names and owners the structure has had. Since the Slippery Noodle Inn was originally founded in 1850, it was originally known as the Tremont House. It was originally built as a roadhouse and a bar for railroad passengers. It has traditionally been owned by people of German descent, and it was actually one of the very first German bars in Indianapolis. In the 1860s, the name changed to the Concordia House. This name came from the first German Lutheran immigrant ship to land in the New World. Later, the name changed to the Germania House, which stuck until the start of around the First World War. Since at the time German associations were being avoided, the owner, who was Lois Beck at the time, changed the name to Beck's Saloon. Walter Moore purchased the bar before Prohibition and renamed it to Moore's Beer Tavern. During Prohibition, he decided to rename it to Moore's Restaurant, but that didn't really stop them from making beer and whiskey in the basement. In the late 1940s, Boris Peterchev purchased the tavern. He ran the tavern until early 1963 when Amelia Feinhout, the property owner, took over. She quickly found out that she did not enjoy running a tavern and put the business up for sale. That's when Harold and Lorraine Yegi, Hal's parents, bought the bar in late 1963. The Slippery Noodle Inn was named by Hal's dad in 1963 after a lengthy family debate. Names were thrown out for the family to vote on, and about 5 a.m., Slippery Noodle Inn sounded pretty darn good. The noodle has remained in the Yegi family ever since. Hal took over the bar in 1985 after his father's death, and since that time it has grown from a one-room lunch counter into Midwest Premier Blues Club. Now let's talk a little bit about the history about the actual location. So the inn has been used for all types of activities. In the Civil War years, it was a way station for the Underground Railroad. Years later saw a bordello open in a once luxurious inn. It remained open until 1953 when a patron was murdered. Two customers of the bordello got into an argument over one of the women, one killing the other and leaving the bloody knife on the bar. Like I mentioned before, during Prohibition, whiskey and beer was made in the basement, and the gangsters, specifically the Dillinger and Brady gangs, used the building in the back for target practice, which that building was originally built as a horse stable for the inn. Several of the slugs remain embedded in the lower east wall. In addition to beer and liquor being distilled in the basement, cattle and swine were also slaughtered and butchered there. The meat hooks and water lines are still present today. The ceiling in the front of the bar is made of pressed tin. It was installed around 1890. The Tiger Oak bar and back bar are over 100 years old and believed to be original. The trough in the front of the bar was used as a cash register in the olden days. They used this as like an honor system, and it worked, or else the Colt 45 did. The Noodle is the oldest commercial building left standing in Indianapolis, and the Tremont House sign painted on the north side of the building dates back to the 1850s. They have received numerous awards and mentions in the more recent decades. I will list those on the screen because there are way too many just to list off, but they mostly consist about being the best blues bar in Indianapolis, being the best bar in Indianapolis, basically just being amazing. There have also been some really great musicians that have performed at this bar, which I will also list on the screen. As well as musicians, there have been many celebrities that have visited this bar as well. The Noodle Inn is listed in the National Register of Historic Places. For those of you who don't know what the National Register is, I will read off this definition from their website. The National Register of Historic Places is the official list of our country's historic buildings, districts, sites, structures, and objects worthy of preservation. It was established as a part of the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 and is overseen by the National Park Service. The National Register recognizes more than 90,000 properties for their significance in American history, architecture, art, archaeology, engineering, and culture. Now, there are local and state registers, which basically means the history of the structure is important in the city or the whole entire state. But for a building or structure to be on the National Register, it has to be very significant to the nation's history. So now let's dive into the fun stuff, which would be the hauntings. Since the inn is well over 100 years old, it has gone through many historic events, and it wasn't always the safest location to be. Starting off, this building was a part of the Underground Railroad. Escaped slaves have lost their lives during their quest to be free while traveling. Their ghosts have been known to haunt places that they have died in. The entities of the slaves, who have been buried in the formerly dirt basement, have been known for haunting the inn. People often hear them whispering. There have been sightings of a male black entity who is thought to be the caretaker still on the job. He has been seen in the basement wearing a pair of coveralls. He is known for being quite chatty as well. The second floor is fairly haunted as well. People have felt cold spots, being touched, and hear noises that can't be explained. There is a male cowboy entity that has been seen. He is believed to be the man that was killed during the knife fight. And lastly, prostitution has always been a dangerous occupation and has resulted in several deaths. There has been an entity of a female prostitute standing on the second floor balcony. Now, a paranormal team called Circle City Paranormal has actually walked through Slippery Noodle Inn for an investigation. They caught 3 EVPs, which I will attempt to put on this video. If not, I will leave a link in the description so you can listen for yourselves. With the paranormal team, a psychic, Gary Spivey, also walked with them. Gary saw a spiritual hand stick up from the basement floor and saw the caretaker in overalls in the basement as well. On the second floor, the female entity used one of the women in the team's group to communicate. She told them that she was the madam of the brothel. So as I mentioned before, we visited the Slippery Noodle Inn on December 16th, 2017. We went around 8:30 at night, and we didn't ask for like a private tour or anything like that because they are a running, functioning bar. And I'm going to say a very, very popular bar in Indianapolis. So obviously we really didn't notice anything spooky or haunted going on at the location because there were a ton of people there. They're getting ready for a couple of gigs that night. But the staff was super friendly. They were super funny. I had a great time visiting the bar, and I actually didn't know that the bar itself was original to the location when we were sitting there. So I did take a couple of photos. I'll post those up above. Just being there, that knowing that it was Indiana's oldest bar, that it's one of Indianapolis' like last really old structures, like it's just being there for the history part was absolutely amazing. If you're ever in the Indy area, I highly recommend going to visit them. You will definitely have a great time. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. So I will be doing another updated video here soon, but I'll just tell you guys right here. So I am going to be moving to Florida here in the next 2 weeks for a big girl job, which I'm super excited about. So hopefully down there they will have some very interesting haunted places. I will definitely keep you guys updated on my life and everything. Hopefully I can do some more videos once my life has kind of calmed down a bit. But hey, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for learning with me and going on this haunted adventure today. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week and a great weekend. I will see you all next time.